Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. Thursday, August 7th, 2025. We have news. We have the preseason. We have ADP changes. We have Keenan Allen going back. We all must go back where we belong. And Keenan Allen going back to the Los Angeles Chargers, where he's guaranteed to get 9 of the worst weekly targets you've ever seen. We're going to talk about that, tell you what that means. Jordan Addison finally getting a length for his suspension as Rashee Rice wonders how long his suspension will be. More Emeka Egbuka steam, more Tetairoa McMillan steam, more Matthew Golden steam. I was trying to remember his name. Worried about Matthew Stafford yet? Question mark. We're going to get about every day of the Rams are like, we've always planned on Matthew Stafford missing 19 days. That's what we said. That's what we said on July 20th. We said it'd be 19 days. So I don't know why you're acting like it's weird. We're going to talk about if we're worried there yet. Maybe Jaden Higgins. Then we're going to look into a crystal ball. It's the preseason. It's a time of big moves in ADP, big shifts, overreaction season, many are calling it. And we're going to try to forecast who some of the biggest ADP risers and fallers, I think mostly risers, are going to be in this month of August because it's so like liberating and frustrating and scary all at the same time that after kind of months of stasis in ADP, some may even ask why you're looking at ADP before early August. But ADP, somewhat static until, things, quote, actually happen. And so things are going to be happening this month to shake loose ADP. But as I mentioned, it's the preseason. Who you guys got in your DFS lineups this weekend? Tell me all about it.
I'm so glad you asked, Pat, because you know who.
All right, cut his mic. Do the best.
Yeah.
No, listen. I'm playing the future star quarterback of the Colts tonight,
okay.
And that's Riley G.
You're
Leonard.
still on this?
I'm still on it because
You're
it's
still
happening.
on this.
Riley Leonard's going to start games this year, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. That's the thing.
What?
it's
Is he even the third string or is he the fourth string?
He'll be third. He'll be the emergency quarterback.
Is Riley Leonard, is he a rookie or is this the second summer in a row you've been doing this? I can't remember.
This summer has been so long.
I know.
You've been doing it for 2 summers.
I did get a weird deja vu where it felt like you were doing this last summer.
No.
I guess it was like April that you were doing it.
No. Riley Leonard is going to start. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, always hurt, always bad. I mean, you tell him, like, there is a path. There's a path. Anyway,
you're probably conflating this. You're probably conflating this bit that Denny's doing with the Taysom Hill bit because they're functionally the same.
Well, that's remember the point I kept making. Yeah, I did say what if Taysom Hill, but actually good. I guess there is some of that with Riley Leonard.
Yeah, he's going
to. I mean, not good to be clear. He's not good too.
He's not at all.
Just Taysom Hill younger, but
let me be clear. Even a good version of Taysom Hill would be bad.
Yeah.
No, he'll be awful. Don't get me wrong. But so much fun for fantasy. Kyle, who are you playing tonight in DFS?
Sickest name this weekend, Kyle. It doesn't have to just be tonight, Thursday.
Oh, no, I have no clue. I haven't looked at the lineups yet at all.
Oh.
This sounds like brutal trying to dig through these. Like right now is like the sweet spot of like we get to come on here and be like they're pumping up Bucky Irving. Like, oh my God, like it's all the fun stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And also I don't have to live with the consequences of my actions yet. Obviously, week 1's gonna be awful. Last year, week 1, Saquon Barkley goes for like what an insane game. Like obviously every game for him was insane. And just like this pit in my stomach forms. I'm like, well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions over an entire summer. But right now, I just get to live in the world where all of my players are absolute ballers. Every training camp highlight is confirming my priors. I do not want to think about your freaking Ashton Doolins and your Laviska Shenaults right now. Save that for probably like an hour before the slate. I still will be playing, to be clear.
Guys, we're all excited to see Jermaine Burton play 4 quarters tonight. That's for sure.
That sounds kind of exciting, actually.
And he's going to see 10 targets, and we're just going to have to accept that.
In a best case scenario, Friday, people will be steaming DJ Giddens and Will Shipley. But more realistically, it's going to be like a 5th string receiver on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Like the 4th string running back on the Eagles. It won't be anyone.
Yeah, for me, best case scenario is they're not steaming DJ Giddens because he didn't play because they rested him like they're actually resting.
That's
starters.
True. That's actually a really, really good point.
I want him to get treated like a starter. He plays 1 drive and that's it because I actually like DJ Giddens.
The Colts running back to roster, I believe, is Ulysses Bentley IV. I'm not joking.
Oh, that guy was a bad prospect. That's how you know he's a good
Ulysses Bentley the fourth.
The Ole Miss running back, right?
We're talking 20 plus touches.
His dad sounds like a Civil War general who like betrayed England or something. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Like, yeah, he came to fight in the American War between the states, but then he defected to the Confederate States. Then he was a double agent for England. Very confusing, all of that. You know who I was steaming before this week was Keenan Allen. He was a freebie at the end of best ball drafts. He was a freebie if for some reason you're doing redrafts. You probably were not doing that yet. But I enjoyed faceless Keenan Allen on Underdog. Like, doesn't have a face, doesn't have a team. A real easy draft pick to make. Kyle, now, reality is staring us in the face. He's now on the Los Angeles Football Chargers yet again. What does this mean? Is it over for Trey Harris? Is it over for that guy who has got three initials like KLB?
DeAndre Lambert-Smith.
KLS, as many are calling him. Who is it beginning for? Who's it over for? A lot of money for Keenan Allen. I think a lot more than any of us were expecting. But every summer there's a few veterans who because usually the perception is if you're not signed in August, it's because you were asking for way too much money. You're gonna have to swallow your pride, accept $2 or $3 million. Keenan Allen got over $8 million. I don't know how much that was guaranteed. What is ending? What is beginning, Kyle, with Keenan Allen back to LA?
I think it's very fair to say that this at minimum pushes the timeline back for the rookies. Like, you bring Keenan Allen in for one thing, and it's just to eat up snaps. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in him as a fantasy asset. Last year, he was at 1.4 yards per route run. That was 71st in the NFL. And especially when you look at guys at his age who start to experience that type of decline, where they go from being a really good player, which he was up until the very end in LA, to a really dysfunctional player. That is a decline that is almost universally irreversible. Like, it just does not. We don't see guys like the AJ Green to Arizona trip. Like, those are very rarely successful trips that result in a real rebound. Like, the Adam Thielen story is such a fleetingly rare story where the change of scenery is what helps him pull out of a years-long tailspin. And last year was bad enough for me that I don't really think there's much fantasy value to be mined with Keenan Allen. When you look at what he did with the Bears, it wasn't just that he was inefficient. He was inefficient while they were trying to make him the engine of their offense. He saw 30% of the team's first read targets. And I believe he missed 2 games as well. I didn't even account for the 2 games he missed. Like, they were doing everything they could to make him the focal point of the passing attack. And he was still absolutely dreadful. He was also the least efficient player on that team in terms of what he was doing with his first read target. So obviously, like, Shane Waldron, terrible offensive coordinator, was trying to run his offense through completely dust Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen was able to make absolutely nothing out of the fact that his team wanted to repeatedly get him the football. Now he goes to a spot where I know he does obviously have rapport with Justin Herbert, but they're not going to make him the focal point over Lad McConkey. So he's inefficient. And
I got news for you, young man. First time, question mark. First time here, first time at the road. There's no way they're going to make him the focal point over DJ Moore and Roman Dunze.
And
absolutely no way. Absolutely no way they give him $8 million in August because they think their wide receiver core is so bad and they need old Keenan back. I think you're right, but man, Keenan Allen has felt. We've fallen for it many times before, Denny, with Mr. Keenan Allen. Yeah. Denny's been looking like he wanted to cut Kyle's mic for about half of Kyle's spiel. And Denny, remember, we used to always argue Keenan was one of those guys who's maybe bad for his quarterback, like kind of like Evan Ingram. Great, you can target him 13 times a game. Guess what he does with those?
The Chargers couldn't have made a worse signing for Justin Herbert. Okay, I mean, Justin Herbert now. He's going to think that his whole job is just waiting for Keenan Allen to do his old man moves in the middle of the field and get open. And he's going to throw it and he's going to complete it and gain 7 yards on 3rd and 10. And they're going to punt. And that's what Justin Herbert believes his job is going to be. Now, Lad McConkey, obviously going to be the wide receiver one.
It's over.
Let
me be clear. I do not.
He's fine. He's fine. I'm not going to rain on the Zoomer parade there, but the millennials will rise up with Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen will be a thing. He will be a thing. 17th in targets last year, 24th in receptions among receivers. Were they exciting? Did they give you much? No.
He was 17th in targets. What are we? What? This used to be a sport. This used to be.
And I think he's gonna run all the routes. Justin Herbert loves his safe, analytics-friendly throws. I think he'll be useful.
Denny's slowly turning on analytics. Any final words here on Kyle after we impugned your reputation? Do you admit now that it's over for everyone, including Lad McConkey?
I admit nothing. I show no remorse. I totally concede though that there's a reason they brought this guy in. I think it's just to have a guy who knows. He doesn't even know the system.
Is it over for Trey Harris too? By the way, where I think the hashtag murmurings had not been great on Trey Harris. And
frankly, to me, what wasn't great was like, why am I seeing so much day 3 Keandre Lambert-Smith hype when it's supposed to be Trey Harris hype? I do not think it's over for Trey Harris, but there was very much a world that like I said at the beginning of the show, like I just get to live in these worlds in my head until they prove to not be true. A lot of times I'm in drafts and I'm living in the world in which Trey Harris is a week 1 starter. I have stopped living in that world. I do not think he's running a full complement of routes in the first probably even month of the season. And that's what like the Keenan Allen signing means to me. Keenan Allen's too dust to be a fantasy player I care about, but he's probably not dust enough to make me keep drafting Trey Harris. I have to admit some defeat on that bullet point.
Real quick, Keenan Allen finishes top what in overall PPR points, not per game, Denny Carter? Top 48, top 36?
36. So Keenan Allen...
that might be a bit much.
So Keenan Allen, to me, sounds like the kind of guy you draft if you're in a PPR league, you desperately want to finish 5th. No. Yep. And you're just scrounging for... You're getting disgusting for targets late in the draft, and you're just like, I got to get a guy who's getting targets.
He's like a running back. He's like a running back who's getting touches. Yeah. Those players are hard to find.
They are
at the wide receiver position. Sometimes, like I guess Pop Douglas is going to get targets, and I'm using one of my final picks on him.
And let's be clear about like how specific this needs to be. If you are in a standard scoring league where you don't get any points for receptions, Keenan Allen cannot be drafted.
No, cannot be drafted.
Even like in a 14-team league, you can't do it.
Cannot be drafted. Keenan Allen's going to be a real interesting ADP all month. Jordan Addison has been a real interesting ADP all summer. A real explosive number 2 guy, kind of a proven producer, kind of a proven touchdown scorer. I've been struggling to get in the top 40 because we knew a suspension was coming. Just even beyond the suspension, there's just question about what is the true nature of this Vikings offense going to be with J.J. McCarthy under center. J.J. McCarthy, after having like a weird offseason, has had a fairly hype-filled training camp. He's getting good reports out of Vikings camp, Denny. But we just could not really move forward in Jordan Addison until we knew how long the suspension was. Now we do. It's 3 games. Wide receiver, what feels appropriate for Jordan Addison? Just what seems realistic in terms of production for a guy who's missing 3 games and is breaking in a first-year starting quarterback in J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, well, Addison's going as wide receiver 36 right now, like right around like Chris Olave, Rome Odunze, Deebo Samuel. I'm not taking them there anymore. I would say more like somewhere in like the 48 to 50 zone, somewhere in like the Keon Coleman, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney range. Does that sound right to you guys?
That's a little bearish.
I was going to say I'd take him like ahead of those guys, but I know what comes ahead of those guys. I'm like, I know I'm not taking him ahead of the next group. If you started going up the list, I'd be like, you found the spot actually.
Like Josh Downs, obviously you're taking Downs.
I would take Jordan Addison ahead of Josh Downs. I would take him ahead of Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden.
Wait, hold on. No. There were 3 of those names.
Kobe Myers.
There were 3 of those names that I'm fine with. But aren't you the one who's doing the like, I see a little bit of Antonio Brown and Josh Downs. You're kicked out of the Josh Downs club, buddy. Get out of here.
You're out.
I got to at least know who the quarterback is going to be. I mean, actually, that's not true. I'm still taking plenty of flyers on Josh. Jordan Addison's just certified hashtag good. I'm kind of fine taking him as like a, say like you've missed on receiver. You're not as deep a receiver as you want to be. You don't have as much upside as you want. I love kind of like taking my lumps with Jordan Addison as my wide receiver 4, who I'm pretty confident when he's back from suspension will easily be my wide receiver 3. How does that sound for you?
That makes sense. And if he runs hot again, he's run hot on touchdowns 2 years in a row. That
sounds like something a good player might do.
Yeah, maybe he's just good. And that happens. I don't know what it's like to draft
19 touchdowns in 32 games, by the way, for Jordan Addison.
17th in total air yards over the past 2 seasons combined, 30% air yard share for the Vikings over those 2 seasons. So that's a lot of opportunity. It makes maybe I'm just trying to think of who benefits here if Addison is out for 3. Well, he will be out for 3 games. Jalen Naylor is still on the roster. Naylor averaged.
All right, that's all right.
What do you think? Averaged 13 PPR points last year when Addison was out. So
Denny is unfortunately very much speaking truth. Where Jalen Naylor, this is the kind of offense where the Jalen Naylors of the world just get relevant.
They can just.
I do wonder about it with JJ McCarthy though. Kyle, I mean, what is any thoughts, predictions, prayers for Jordan Addison, the 2025 fantasy season?
Last season beat the faith out of me. Not saying any prayers at this point. I'm just kidding. To Denny's point, I do think there's like some very modest, like wide receiver 4 or 5 fantasy value from Jalen Naylor, who, as he pointed out, we saw succeed modestly in basically what is going to be the same situation as the number 2 receiver. And all reports from camp have indicated that Ty Felton, the 3rd round pick, the last pick of the 3rd round, if I remember correctly, has not pushed Jalen Naylor for that wide receiver 3 role. So I guess the only thing is, like, in what situation are you going into week 1? You're like, God, I really need the wide receiver 58 to make my starting lineup. It'd be different if it was late in the season and we were like streaming and you've had some injuries, you're trying to make the playoffs and you think like, I do need a flex play. I have a big bye week or something. But like the 3rd week of the season and you're already playing Jalen Naylor, like you screwed up somewhere to get here.
Well, maybe if you're a value hound and you're taking all the injured guys, late August, there's going to be a lot more.
You get yourself a Rashee Rice or a Chris Godwin knowing that you can really hammer teams down the stretch. Sure.
That could happen, but you should not be starting Jalen Naylor, even in a 14-team league in the month of September. Yeah, it's already over for you. They're acting like it's over for Chris Godwin in terms of like being ready early in the season. Actually, they're acting like he's never been more back. They act like he's like the captain of the team, Chris Godwin. But ESPN's Jenna Lane believes first-rounder Emeka Egbuka has been Tampa Bay's standout performer in training camp. Denny, comes amidst reports that, we don't know when Chris Godwin is coming back. Egbuka is really, really beginning steam. His name just comes up constantly from the coaching staff, from the media, from fantasy thought influencers. It's currently in the low wide receiver 40s. Or how much are we reading into like the drumbeat basically at this point for a first-round pick in Emeka Egbuka?
I mean, until he rises to what I would consider like an unreasonable ADP in redraft, I think you just go ahead and take him. I will say I was sucked in by the camp highlights of Egbuka. I saw him a couple times yesterday where I was like, wow, that guy's fast and strong. And he appears to have the juice. I was looking back at some of his college numbers. They were a little better than I remembered. And one of the things I wanted to highlight here is his targets per route run. Last year at Ohio State, 28% target per route run last year. That's strong. Like that's very solid. And it marked a big jump from 2023 for him. So, being able to command those targets, and I could see him kind of, ingratiating himself with Baker Mayfield and making a few big plays. Like, there's room to grow in this offense, especially if Godwin's not going to be out there or 100% to start the season.
Emeka Egbuka, who wasn't even the best receiver on Ohio State last year. That would, of course, be Jeremiah Smith.
He was never the best receiver on Ohio State. No, he was always second fiddle to Marv, too. So
that's true. Denny alluding to the fraud alert hashtag for all Ohio State wide receivers coming into the NFL. Are we on a fraud alert with Emeka Egbuka, Kyle? Or as our resident Buckeye, are you saying all systems go for the first rounder?
Yeah, I mean, he's finally moving up in price in a way that I thought should have happened a long time ago. I mean, maybe it's just one of those things where fantasy managers never really conceive of the fact that a player is not going to play in week 1 until it's like they're actually listed as doubtful on like Friday night before. Yeah. Like Brandon Ayuk has been dropping the entire summer. Dude, we knew the entire summer that he tore his ACL and his MCL in week 7 or 8 or something like that. Like, we knew he was probably not returning until at least week 5 or 6, like the end of PUP, if not mid-season, but he just continues to fall. And it seems like that's still one blind spot fantasy managers have. So I've continued
fantasy managers do not have blind spots. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
So. Look, we're getting better at the game. I do think ADP every year looks a little bit sharper. I still always thought that the Emeka price was just way too cheap. And just every person like in the state of Florida thinks this dude is an absolute baller every time they see him. Baker Mayfield, I forget, this might have been on the New Heights show that the Kelsey show said He's so smart. He's willing to block. They can plug him at any three of the wide receiver spots. I think is really important because they probably will at some point need to be playing him on the outside, even if he's traditionally thought of as a slot. Mike Evans says he looks like a running back, but he catches like Chris Godwin. Like that's what I want to see. No. As long as you say he catches well. If he had stopped the sentence, I actually have another little heel turn for a quote that's the same thing. As long as he catches like Chris Godwin, I'm happy. That turns him into DJ Moore instead of Laviska Shenault. If he didn't say anything about the catching, it's Laviska Shenault, red flag. But he said he catches like Godwin. Jason Light said he looks like he's been in the league 10 years. That's a red flag. You should not look like you've been in the league 10 years. Todd Bowles actually hears that quote and corrects it. He says, I'll say 5. 10 makes him sound old. That's my goat right there, Todd Bowles. Do not call him 10 years veteran, 5 years. And Todd Bowles goes on to say he could be a number 1 receiver on a lot of other teams. Like, it's just every single time anyone in a Tampa Bay uniform, whether it be a polo or the shoulder pads with the jersey over it, they all say that this guy looks like he's ready to produce week 1, like big numbers in week 1. And now the path seems to be getting cleared for week 1 and 2 with Chris Godwin. Doesn't seem awfully likely to play in week 1. I'd put him in a coin flip to return by like week 3 is probably where I'd put the line. The whole bet against rookies is that they're going to hurt you in the early part of the season. That bet has already started to lose traction with Emeka because he looks like he can produce out of the gates.
For Chris Godwin, I would say my best guess is that he won't begin the season on the PUP list because they want him to go truly week to week, but that he will miss weeks 1 and 2 probably.
That's my exact guess too.
Emeka Egbuka too. The one data point with all first-round receivers we probably need to focus on is just the first round, that they were first-round receivers. Every year, there are guys where it's easy to construct a case against a first-round receiver, and those cases like melt away startlingly often. We're going to get to that with Matthew Golden a little later in the show in Green Bay, everyone's least favorite first-round wide receiver, but focus on that first-round draft capital with Emeka Egbuka. By the way, Baker Mayfield basically announcing, though, he's going to be a bust now that the league has banned smelling salts. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with poor Bakes.
No, did you see there's an update on that? I believe it's that teams cannot provide smelling salts for players. So we're cool. It's all
right, never mind. That's totally cool. George Kittle, thank God, ADP.
I know.
George Kittle saying basically he's like, I do a smelling salt every play. I'm like, all right. I'm sure that's good for the
should bring a smelling salt onto the show and do it live.
Yeah.
That would be so Denny, I'll Venmo you $50 to do that next show.
Is it that much?
No, I'm saying I'll pay you to do it. I'll buy the salts for you too.
He'll pay you. Thankfully, you said smelling salts and not bath salts. Thank you. ESPN's David Newton believes that just like Emeka Egbuka, the first-round receiver in Charlotte, North Carolina, is tearing up camp. Tetairoa McMillan has been Carolina's, quote, standout performer. I guess this was an article series from ESPN where they all had to pick a standout performer. But David Newton, the Panthers have like 2 reporters. One of them chose Tetairoa McMillan as the standout reporter in camp. We're getting excited. I know you guys seem under the belief that Bryce Young is good. Kyle, I guess are we getting excited about T-Mac? Don't call me Tet McMillan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. To be fair, I thought he was a really strong prospect. When you look at what he did in the second and third season, he's a top 10 pick, early declare, who had dominator ratings well over 30%, strong yards per route run numbers. Like, he was efficient as the entirety of his team's offense, and then the NFL deems him worthy of going in the top 10. It's kind of all I need to know. He looks like he can come out of the gates and be, I don't want to say a superstar in week 1, but a meaningful fantasy contributor in week 1, and then potentially progress into a superstar down the road as early as like the fantasy playoffs. So to me, the path is clear for targets. The path is clear for talent. And I think the quarterback play is going to be good enough. I don't know. Like, Bryce could sort of crumble, but he played really well in the final 2 months of the season. Well enough that I think even if he takes a step back from that, maybe he does, especially I think the rushing is probably a bit inflated. He got a bunch of touchdowns last year rushing. I don't think that's going to repeat for his fantasy purposes, but the way he was throwing the football, like, it would take a lot of regression for him to become old Bryce Young again. He was a different player in the second half of the season, and I don't need to bet on Bryce Young being great. He just needs to be serviceable and throw the ball to the number 8 pick a lot. And I'm going to bet on that. That's fine with me.
Are you betting on Tetairoa, Denny? I know you're all in on Bryce. You've come all around. Like, actually, even as a rookie, Bryce was good. I think
you just didn't appreciate it. You know, it's like when a musician has a breakout album, and you're like, you didn't appreciate the first one, which was actually better.
Of course.
Yeah. So no, he's cooking. By the way, Bryce Young cooking in camp, and confident. doing the whole thing where he's talking to people. Which
That is huge. I do admit that is huge.
I mean, it's a big thing.
As someone who lacks confidence and hates talking to people in person, I get it, Bryce.
All right. So here's my problem with McMillan. Okay.
Thank God. Here we go.
All right. No. It's not. It has nothing to do. His profile's good.
Okay. Sure.
That's all fine.
Is it?
It's fine. But listen. The thing I run into is that he's going right around Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, Travis Hunter, and Jameson Williams. I'd rather have all those guys over McMillan.
I'd rather have Jameson Williams for sure. I think I'd rather
have the worst one of the bunch. Give me the worst.
I don't know what the you being out on JMO is one of the most stunning, surprising things ever. But I would much rather have T-Mac over Calvin Ridley or whoever.
Me too. Really?
Yeah. Calvin Ridley. Yeah, this time a rookie quarterback's me what really unlocks. I've been actually taking Calvin Ridley a lot.
No, when you say it, Pat, say it again and say it seriously and say Cam Ward will unlock Calvin Ridley, and that actually makes sense.
It does make a little bit
when you say it.
Just say it with your chest.
Mr. Tetairoa, my only problem where I said, is it reply a good profile? Just the big guys in the modern NFL are so much the exception, no longer the rule. There are still exceptions to the rule. But I kind of operated on the assumption like the Drake Londons of the world, the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s of the world, I basically want them to prove it to me on the field. They're going to be one of the exceptions because this is no longer the rule that 6'4" sideline dominators are going to be big-time fantasy producers. So
we are in I'm so sorry, Pat.
No, I was just saying that's what I want to see with T-Mac is I kind of just adopted he should be good, but I need to see it. I also need to see that Bryce Young is truly – like now a confident young man who's actually going to pull the trigger on those throws.
All right. I'm so sorry for stepping all over you. I thought you were done like 3 times.
I do that all the time, yeah.
So I would say that Bryce Young, no matter how good he is this year, his specialty is not really dominating the sidelines, right?
Yeah,
it's not like strong throws to the sidelines. So if that's his whole opportunity profile for McMillan, that's a problem.
He did play in the slot a decent amount, from what I remember in Arizona.
So that would be the hope. But if you're right, if he's used strictly on the boundary, I'm sorry to say, and Kyle, I hope you don't lash out here, start crying, throwing up. Adam Thielen's going to outscore McMillan if that's the case.
I early in the offseason, I was like, I just want to take every rookie, like all the rookies were cheap, and I wanted to take every single rookie, like get 5 or 6 of them on all my best ball teams. And I will admit, to eat my vegetables, I took a lot of Adam Thielen back in the day. When I was a younger man, I was taking a decent amount of Adam Thielen. Of course, then they took a guy to take his job, and I haven't done it as much. But
thought you were going to keep talking, and I had it muted.
Hell yeah! Who did they take to take his job?
The show,
the number 8 receiver.
Oh! Sorry, I thought you meant someone else who I wasn't thinking.
Kyle,
no, not specifically the slot role, just like the we need someone to catch passes role, which Adam Thielen frankly did and did well. It was like, oh man, all these young guys on this team that you keep taking have never panned out. Like the good young player they got before before T-Mac was Jalen Coker, a UDFA. Like that was their big hit. Adam Thielen really was just like, we need someone reliable. You don't have to be great. You need to be open sometimes, more often than anyone else on the team. But that is really what T-Mac is going to do well. Is he is just the always open type. I agree, Pat. I actually comped it to Marvin Harrison coming out of the draft. It was with the hindsight knowledge, like it didn't hit for Harrison, but Drake London's also in that vein, and it did hit for London. So I agree. It's not a layup. Like I'm not extremely confident this is a win, but this is the type of bet that when it wins big.
They did also push Adam Thielen with, of course, their first-round receiver last year, and it went disastrously. Tetairoa McMillan, a little bit better prospect than Xavier Legette. We will be right back after this. Tune in to NBC Sports Now for all the biggest stories in sports, beginning at 7 a.m. Eastern with PFT Live, followed by the Dan Patrick Show, the Dan Lebitard Show with Stu Gatz, Fantasy Football Happy Hour, and Chris Sims Unbuttoned. The NBC Sports Now channel is available on Peacock, the Roku channel, Samsung TV Plus, and more. Visit NBCSports.com/now for more details. As we alluded to in the opening, the Rams are coming up with new explanations every single day for Matthew Stafford's back injury, which has been revealed to be a herniated disc, which I hear is absolutely no big deal. And herniated discs always get better and don't ever eventually require surgery or living in excruciating pain. So are we worried about Matthew Stafford yet? And all that stands between Javonte Adams Mr. Denny, and the reunion nobody wanted with Jimmy Garoppolo is Matthew Stafford and back.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Davante Adams almost became a monk because Jimmy Garoppolo was so bad in Vegas. Okay, so the good news here for Rams fans, for Davante Adams and Puka Nacua, is that even if Jimmy G starts week 1, that ain't lasting, right? I mean, this guy's done. This guy will not finish that game.
No, he's the ultimate of my backup quarterback hypothesis.
They're playing Houston. Okay, there's a 0.0% chance he gets out of that game. Okay,
that is actually stunningly accurate.
So you're talking Stetson Bennett is what you're talking here. So I don't know if that's better or worse, but it's not.
No, it's better. Anything's better than Jimmy.
It probably
Riley Leonard would be better than Jimmy.
Honestly, you're probably right. Garoppolo is the worst of the worst of the worst.
He is.
And so, but Stafford's a tough guy. Who was it? Adam Schefter said this week it's purely maintenance.
He said that before the more negative reports came out, though.
He did,
which was kind of the sequencing of those reports was very interesting to
me. He's gonna play, but am I excited about like a gimpy, like gritting his teeth through the awful, horrific, searing pain Matthew Stafford trying to distribute the ball to fantasy guys who you have to take in the first and third rounds? Like, am I excited about that? No, I think it's terrible.
It's harrowing, and he's done it for years, but it's just the kind of thing you can do until you can't. And Kyle, I am just a little worried we're to the point until he can't with Matthew Stafford. I do think no matter what, he'll be out there week 1, either because he'll have gotten better or he'll be committed to playing through an immense amount of pain as long as he can. Are you worried at all about your Puka bags, though? Or I'm assuming you probably also have some Davante bags.
No, I don't have any of those, buddy. Trust me. How old is he? What do you say? He's over 25 by a lot? Oh, no. No, I mean, I don't think Davante is like a bad bet or anything. I wasn't taking a ton of him. Yeah, like my palms are a little sweaty when I hear that like he's for sure going to be ready for week 1. And as you guys allude to, like, dude, he's definitely playing through a lot of pain. Like, this is going to absolutely suck. And I think very much like happened 2 years ago now, if I remember correctly, is that if they're just totally dead out of the playoff race, like they're 4-8, 2/3 of the way through the season, roughly, I do not know if he finishes that season. I wouldn't finish the season if I were him. And we kind of saw that happen 2 years ago as well. I believe they shut Aaron Donald down at the end of that year as well. I do think it's very possible that something like that happens, but you also have to get a lot of steps to get there. Like, the Rams have to be the divisional round, like made it to the divisional round last year, have to fall to like a 4-8 season. Stafford's back injury has to probably get worse than it is because he will continue to, like, they say he's going to play week 1, so it has to stay as bad or get worse. They have to be losing. And then also the backup which is probably true, the backup has to be really bad just for has to hurt the fantasy output of someone like Puka. You have to make all those arguments to say you should drop Puka a meaningful amount. Right now, ADP has basically him and Nico Collins almost dead even. His ADP is 9. Nico Collins is 9.8. And actually, Malik Neighbors is 9.4. Once you get to the 9 spot, fantasy managers are flipping, ultimately a 3-sided coin to pick who they want. Maybe at that point, I do sort of shade away from taking Puka there because I was taking him so much. I thought he was such a good bet. But I've been presented with more risk in this profile now. I don't have CJ Stroud's back imploding midseason as a risk when I take Nico Collins. So that's like the only change I would make. And it's largely just because other drafters are doing it too. If I want Puka, it's very real that I could be taking him at the 10 or 11 or even 12 this time in 2 weeks, say.
That's a really good way to look at it. It's the kind of situation where football is risky. Every team has like kind of ticking time bombs, like Matthew Stafford's back. And the only way I would react probably to the Stafford back injury with regards to Puka and Davante Adams is when deciding amongst equals, like Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, and Puka Nacua, then maybe I consider it. But if that tier is empty, Puka's the last guy there, I think you can feel confident taking Puka still.
I'll be real with you guys. If I have a draft today, okay, and I'm sitting down and it's my turn to draft and Puka Nacua and Malik Neighbors are on the board together, and I know all this about Stafford, I'm taking Neighbors.
Like I've already converted to Neighbors anyway.
Okay. I mean, I think it has gotten to the point. I'm taking Nico Collins. Like,
ooh, no, absolutely not. But
why?
Nico's had like one good half season.
I mean, look, to the Puka Nacua haters' credit, guy also loves to leave football games. He's had. Like
I was gonna say, well, with Nico, Puka gets hurt, but Nico too loves to suffer like multi-week calf injuries.
Right. That's true.
I'm a little more concerned about Nico's injury history.
Okay. Brian Thomas over Puka.
Still Puka for me.
You got to go for the gold. As much as I love Brian Thomas, you got to go for the gold.
I feel like going for the gold is Brian Thomas.
No, not anymore. Not since they added the number 2 overall wide receiver. That lost some of its luster to me. But that ADP could change this month. We're going to discuss ADPs that now are going to be changing in the month of August, the most fateful month on the fantasy football drafting calendar. Denny, everyone wanted to draft a day 3 running back for the New York Giants. But then he ran a 4.6 40. That has a little concerned. We said, doesn't matter. He does all the little things well. He's gritty. We love this guy. Coaches are going to love him. They don't like him at all. He's not practicing. Cam Skattebo. He's been around the RB35 or RB36. Sounds like you think this is going to be dropping even further.
Yeah. Skattebo, right now, I have him as RB33. Tyron Tracy is RB30. I could see Tracy going up to the 25 range. And I could see Skattebo dropping into the 40s, passed up by guys like maybe Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, Jordan Mason, even Tajay Spears. I could see that happening, and I would buy. I would go ahead and throw him on my bench and hope that when he's 100% healthy and heals up for the regular season, that eventually he carves out a role. I guess I'll just preview something I'm writing. I've been talking with some beat writers, grilling the beat writers. And I was talking with Giants beat writer Pat Leonard, who's a friend of the show, been on the show. And he started our conversation with this. He said, Brian Daboll loves Cam Skattebo.
Yeah, not a surprise.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that probably means something. And he said, Skattebo.
Why did Jordan Renan say he hates Cam Skattebo in so many words the other day, though? Yeah, it sounds like you're engaging a little stock manipulation, by the way, where you're like, it's going to fall, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to be taking him every single time he falls. It sounds like you're trying to drive down his ADP just so you can get
him. Yeah, that's right. I'm driving down that. I'm driving down oil prices, everything, and just going to buy. Yeah, and I mean, so if you can stash a guy like Skattebo and be patient with him, I think it could pay off.
I agree. Kyle, quickly, do you have any thoughts on Skattebo? I'm not taking him off my board. I'll say that. And this is almost part of like the growing the process for like these young running backs. Like you got to figure out how to play through a lower body injury. And no one is questioning his toughness. He's going to do so much. And the main thing working in Cam Skattebo's favor is he's a higher draft pick than Tyron Tracy was. And they were just so out on Tyron Tracy. The fumbles. He did the one thing you truly cannot do. You can't miss a blitz pickup, you really cannot lose fumbles. And Tyron Tracy was losing so many fumbles that I'm not out on Cam Skattebo, despite some pretty bad red flags.
Yeah, the Jordan Renan quote, I believe we have a blurb up on that, was basically just 100% Tyron Tracy's job to start the year. Maybe even reference week 1. And I think it's probably accurate, but it's largely because Cam Skattebo is a 4th-round rookie who is not practicing and is going to miss a pretty big chunk of his offseason, which obviously is the time he'd prepare to take that job over if he was ever going to do so. And I agree that we should expect his ADP to drop, and we should drop our expectations of him for weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. But to both your guys' points, he was a good prospect, and the guy ahead of him has the ultimate red flag, especially for a coaching staff on the hottest of all hot seats. He had, I think it was an overtime fumble last year where they get the ball in overtime in just first carry of overtime, instant fumble. And of course he got it on his own 25 or 30 or whatever it was. And that's a game loser right there. They're sitting at 3 and 4. People are calling for the entire staff, the entire front office to be wiped out, and he fumbles and they're going to keep him in. No, that's just not how it's going to go. So he has such a glaring issue to clear up that I think opportunities will present themselves for Cam Skattebo, but I do not think that will happen in week 1.
Real quickly, Cam Skattebo, Denny Carter, or Zach Charbonnet?
That's a good one because Charbonnet is a great contingency pick. I'd actually go with Charbonnet.
I'd go Charbonnet. Kyle, are you making it 3 for 3?
No, I'll go Skattebo. I don't think Charbonnet has any standalone value, and I do think Skattebo could work himself into a part-time role pretty
that's
quickly.
true.
It's
It's a
not
pretty
week one,
solid
but
take for sure.
That's
Skattebo or Tajay Spears, Denny?
I think Skattebo.
Tajay Spears is kind of the more experienced Skattebo. What do you say, Kyle?
I think Skattebo too. It's close though.
I do think Spears is very exciting. Like metrics wise, he's tantalizing.
This is the tier I'm dropping Skattebo beyond until we get to this player. Denny, Cam Skattebo or Ramondre Stevenson?
Oh, Skattebo, come on.
Me too.
No point even playing if you're taking Ramondre Stevenson over Cam Skattebo. Kyle, you think one of the hottest names in fantasy football is going to be a riser, I believe, at running back, maybe a faller.
I thought we were doing all risers, if I'm being honest. So all three of mine are risers.
RB9 or 10, depending where you are. Bucky Irving, I think is going to go higher too. I think he's going to leapfrog Jonathan Taylor at the very least, maybe Devin Achane. Why do you think Bucky Irving's ADP is going to be rising?
Yeah, Taylor was the one I had too that I kind of think, especially with so much turmoil in terms of the Colts quarterback situation, and obviously Bucky's profile is so good that I could very much see him slotting in right behind that tier of like Drake London, AJ Brown, like the very next player behind Drake London, AJ Brown, and Ladd. Maybe he even mixes in with those guys. And the profile is just so clear for him to make that second leap from I think like 1,500 yards from scrimmage, really strong fantasy asset, to one of the best in the league. He averaged over 4 yards after contact per attempt last year. Players to do that on over 200 carries in a season in the past decade are Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. And that's the end of the list. And he did it while averaging 1.6 yards per route run, which is seventh most in the NFL. I know this is something Corain has looked at too, is really at any point in a player's career, if they're expect them to grow as a pass catcher, because players in terms of like what they do as pass catchers essentially come into the NFL and we know what they are. I don't want to say they're fully formed, but NFL teams have made their decision on them, except in their first to second year. That's where we really see players who did it with Devon Achane. It's the perfect example. He was electric as a pass catcher as a rookie, but he wasn't playing a de facto third receiver role. And then when that opportunity presented itself, he snatched it and was like one of the most used, especially as a true wide receiver, playing like slot and outside snap, one of the most used running backs in the passing game in the NFL. I don't think we expect Bucky Irving to make that leap, but he was so good as a pass catcher, as a rookie. I do think we should expect him to continue to chip away at that Rachaad White role, which was already relegated exclusively to passing downs at the end of the season. But I think even that could be gone. And when both of those things hit, when he is as good of a runner as he showed last year, and he takes on all of that pass catching work, that's what a top 5 running back looks like. It reminds me similarly, like I made this comparison to Devon Achane, but the hype he's getting, where once you get those receivers off the board, the Ladds, the Drake Londons, the AJ Browns, it really starts to feel like a flat tier where you're like, I don't see how I win my league with these picks. And we said that about Achane last year. And then all of a sudden he jumped up to like the 1-2 turn because he was a very clear bet on, I see how I can win my league with this pick. And I think we'll be making those arguments for Bucky by August 20th.
Bucky was just such a rare combination of efficiency and actual production last year. For a rookie, honestly, though, for any player, just a rare year. And I just can't get over 40-3. He outtouched Rachaad White in week 18 in the wild card round. Hard to get past that. Denny, Jordan Love is steaming Matthew Golden. He's saying our first-round wide receiver might actually be good. Have you ever considered that possibility? And everyone else was like, no.
Yeah.
We haven't considered that at all. Apparently you are considering that possibility. Wide receiver 40 to 45 range for Matthew Golden, depending on the service. You're expecting that to go up. Why, beyond the fact that his quarterback actually likes his first-round wide receiver?
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Clark for just ruining my preconceived notions about Matthew Golden. Kevin Clark, of course, interviewed Jordan Love, and Kevin asked, when one player that's jumped out, and Jordan Love did not waste 1 millisecond. He was like, Matthew Golden, polished. He's going to be a big deal. Like he's going to, what did he say? He's going to be, I can't remember the exact.
He basically said we actually got a good receiver.
Yeah.
Can you guys get a load of this? We got an actually good
I mean, I get, am I listening? Yes, I'm listening. Okay.
You're an active listener. We've always said that about you.
I do. I actively am listening. I also, I struggle to care. I struggle to care because I don't get how Matthew Golden is going to convert this kind of ugly college profile into a legit NFL profile. He's now going ahead of Jaden Reed, which means, of course, that Golden is the first Packers receiver off the board now. I think I'm cool letting someone else take him, and he's going to continue rising. He's going to get because the steam is unbelievable right now, and I think it's going to continue. I'd rather take Reed. I'd rather take Romeo Dobbs if you want to go that
What?
far. No,
Grow
I mean,
up.
as far as ADP goes.
Okay.
So
Still grow up, but
I don't
Yeah.
know. Straight up. Now, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but
you're wrong. That's fine.
Golden just doesn't profile to me as someone who can give you like consistent fantasy production. It's going to be disastrous or pretty cool, depending on if
Maybe like early career Will Fuller kind of almost.
Yeah, I think that's a good comp. Jordan Addison too, though, was like an immediate like 8 or 10 touchdowns out of the gate because he could crack big plays all the time. Big plays turn into touchdowns. I agree with Denny that I did not think Golden was a good prospect in terms of what we expect to see players in the first round look like. With that being said, we're getting a really cheap price on a player the NFL, and I don't think it was just the Packers. I think most teams had a first round grade on him. That was very there were rumors that he could go ahead of T-Mac in the draft.
Yeah.
Those ultimately didn't pan out, but I do think they were founded in at least some teams' evaluations, let alone the Packers, obviously. And when you look at what does he profile similarly to? It's not the best first round picks, but it's not a who's who of busts either. I mean, last year alone, this is the perfect example. So Matthew Golden, 22% career college dominator, plays 3 years, graduates. He leaves a Power 5 school, 1.85 yards per route run, 23rd overall pick. Those are not great numbers. Brian Thomas, 22% college dominator for his career, the exact same. 3-year Power 5 school, the exact same. 1.95 yards per route run, 0.1 different. It's functionally the exact same. And of course, quite literally, the 23rd overall pick. Both of them also ran over 80% of the routes from the out wide. Both of them had exactly a 12 career ADA. Neither of these were awfully appealing profiles, but the NFL found the redeeming qualities in them, and then their team extracted those redeeming qualities quite well. We are not as good at predicting which first round picks are hits as we are saying first round picks are generally good bets. And now we have I think it was very possible that he comes out and doesn't have a great camp and he's a distant third wide receiver. He's rotating in. They start playing Jaden Reed more in 2 wide receiver sets. We have seen none of that. On their family night, which is the first scrimmage they have of the offseason, it's what last year we saw that let us know Dontavion Wicks was a distant fourth. Everyone was hyping up Wicks as he's going to be in the mix for stuff. He was not. He was a distant 4th wide receiver on the team. On the iteration of Family Night this year, Matthew Golden runs all the routes. He runs primarily out wide, but they also move him in the slot. Jaden Reed plays exclusively out of the slot. I love Jaden Reed. All the evidence is that Golden is playing every single snap, and he's a first-round pick with great speed. And as far as his profile goes, it's spotty, but it's not dreadful. I think there have been worse first-round wide receivers. I can see how I'm wrong, and this burns me badly. So I am drafting him.
We focus so much on the bear case for Matthew Golden. That was a really good way to frame the bull case that, listen, it's very rare that a prospect comes to the NFL and doesn't have somewhat of a mixed bag of a resume, of a profile. The teams clearly care a lot more about the good qualities, the stuff that you can't teach. Matthew Golden, for instance, very fast. And they think that they can fix the other stuff. A lot of times you can't fix the other stuff, but a really good way of guys, chill. There is a reason they took him in the first round. It's not all hope. It's not all projection. And then the quarterback really helps. The quarterback likes him, and it was totally reasonable, potential scenario that Matthew Golden is flashing in Packers camp, but he's struggling to break into 2 wide receiver sets, that type of deal, and that is just not happening. And I'm assuming, by the way, Kyle, this is why you have Jordan Love as your QB riser, QB 18. You're expecting to rise higher this summer. This strikes me as I've been subtly moving Jordan Love up my rankings and taking him more often in drafts, I'll say.
Yeah, so last year, Jordan Love obviously gets hurt in the opening week. He misses 2 games after that. I believe he injures his knee later in the year. And then at the very end of the season, he also injures his elbow. And they end up running what is the most run-heavy offense in the NFL outside of the Eagles. I believe it was 31st in pass rate over expected. They were just a dreadful offense in producing fantasy points. This offseason, they treat at least it seems like they're going to treat their offense entirely differently. Obviously, Jordan Love is healthy right now. They go out and they spend a first-round pick on the aforementioned Matthew Golden. They also go out and spend a day 2 pick on another wide receiver in Savion Williams. Last year, we have Jordan Love finish as the QB 17. He goes later than that as the QB 18. Last year was about as worst-case scenario as it gets in terms of what Jordan Love can do for your fantasy team. They are the most run-heavy team in the NFL, and he's banged up all year. Another way this manifested was an extreme drop in rushing production. He averaged like 5.5 yards per game. That's like Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, completely useless levels of this guy adds nothing on the ground. The year before that, he was 15.5 rushing yards per game, which isn't great, but he also scored 4 rushing touchdowns. And he just earlier, I believe it was earlier this week, talked about wanting to run more. He even said specifically that he needs to stop checking down as much, wait that extra beat, and see if he can find running lanes. See, another one of these quarterbacks who is largely a statue, but he's a good enough athlete that he doesn't have to be a statue. And he's recognizing that. At least that's exactly what he's saying. So if you're telling me we just bounce back to the 300-yard rushing range, but they also go from being 31st in pass rate over expected to 22nd, and they have an improved receiving core, that this guy can't beat the cost he did last year, -1, because people are drafting him lower than he finished on a points per game basis, I just don't think that's a logical way to view his fantasy profile. So I'm taking him as, I think, a very clear breakout bet. Maybe he's a guy you want to pair him and a Trevor Lawrence. Like, one of these guys has got to break out. You don't want to hinge your entire fantasy season on Jordan Love. But I do think, like, as a best ball QB2 or as piling up these sort of dart throw plus type of bets in redraft, he's one of the best bets you can make.
Yeah, Denny, there was a reason that we were excited about Jordan Love last year. And maybe it's just best to remember that. And then, yeah, it can kind of be an excuse, but he was hurt all year. That maybe is a viable explanation for why they went so run heavy, why they never like truly trusted him. Or Jordan Love does make sense as a riser to me. Do you agree? It sounds like since you don't believe in Matthew Golden, though, you might not.
No, I think it'll be an offense where the ball's distributed around to everybody, and it'll be hard to zero in on one like really solid receiver for fantasy purposes. But I do like Jordan Love. The rushing thing makes me a little nervous. He strikes me as a guy who doesn't really know how to take a hit, doesn't know how to get down, protect himself. So I'd rather not.
None of these quarterbacks do today, by the way. Can someone teach these guys to protect their bodies?
I would rather he not run as well.
Yeah, I think they grew up without like having that instinct.
They grew up in Madden, where running quarterback, and like they turn off injuries, so it doesn't matter if you get hit sticked, if you get trucked.
And Love, but Love does have the same EPA per rush as Kyler Murray over the past 2 seasons, so he's not bad at it.
That's more of a Kyler stat than a Jordan Love stat. And I had one final thought on Jordan Love, and then I do think with the Packers, everything went right for the Packers running game last year. Can that really happen again? Where it was mostly Josh Jacobs stayed pretty healthy and was able to handle such a big workload. He's taken a lot of bumps and bruises in his career. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not as healthy. Their backup running back spot is still really up in the air between Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd. So I wouldn't be shocked if they couldn't run it as effectively this year and have to pass it more. That'd be good for Jordan Love. We'll be right back after this to wrap things up. It's a postseason that's tougher than ever for the PGA Tour's best, and it begins at the St. Jude Championship this week. Watch the FedEx Cup playoffs on NBC Golf Channel and streaming on Peacock. Denny, I loved your choice for a tight end riser. Another guy where we should just maybe focus on, he was a prospect a lot of teams liked. He has first-round draft capital. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts. His name is
Tyler Warren. Sounds like a former president, if you ask me. But our friend Field Yates at ESPN pointed out the other day that the last 2 tight ends to lead fantasy in points were rookies. In Trey McBride and then Brock Bowers. So
it was Laporta. Sorry.
I'm sorry. It was Laporta. Thank you.
AKA the position's not even hard anymore? Question mark.
Yeah. So, it was kind of revealed. At first I was like, no, Field, absolutely not. But then I thought a little more about it, and I can sort of see a path, but it requires Daniel Jones, unfortunately, to be under center. Because let's be real, it is not happening with Anthony Richardson or my guy Riley Leonard, who will start.
I feel like that is the thing with his ADP. Then Denny, why he can't really rise because of the quarterback uncertainty.
Oh, I think with some preseason hype. I think it could go up a little bit. He's a tight end 10 right now, right beside Colston Loveland. I can see both of those guys sort of inching up. I can see the Travis Kelce's of the world inching down. People are just kind of bored of them. Am I taking, honestly, guys, though, maybe I'm just old, but I'm taking Kelce over Tyler Warren still.
I'm still taking Kelce over Tyler Warren. I'm not liking it, but just, the Jason Witten principle, Tony Gonzalez principle, he's going to catch the ball. He's going to fall down.
It's not going to be fun. You're not going to like watching it, but you're going to look at your fantasy team at the end of the day, and you're going to say, oh, hey, look at 16 PPR points. That's pretty cool.
I think Kelsey will mostly repeat what he did last year, just at a more reasonable ADP this year. Is what I
Yes,
say.
that's right.
Tyler Warren, it's just, man, there are variables. And then is it going to be Anthony Richardson or is it going to be Daniel Jones, where even the good outcome is not good?
I know.
Daniel Jones being the quarterback is the good outcome. Not a good outcome for most pass catchers when the quarterback is Daniel Jones. I had Woody Marks, by the way, is right. RB60, that's going to correct itself really quickly, just because the Najee Harris is the biggest running back injury. Joe Mixon's really not far behind. Every Texans coaching staff quote on Nick Chubb is like, "Listen, he tries really hard."
I know.
It really is, man.
No one is working harder than this guy.
I know.
Like I almost tear up because it looks nothing like the player I knew in Cleveland, but boy, am I inspired.
D'Amico Ryans was like, we all age.
Right.
Like he stared the Grim Reaper in the eyes when he watched Nick Chubb run, and that is just not what you want to hear about it.
No, and Denny and I have been connecting the Josh Palmer dots for a while. I think a lot of other fantasy managers started doing this, but outside the top 60 at receiver, I don't see any way that holds, especially with Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, probably not.
Being injured. Kyle wanted to talk about Luther Burden yet again. Wide receiver 57. He thinks that's rising. One or two sentences on why Luther Burden is rising, Kyle.
I think we're just getting a delayed reaction to the fact that he fell tremendously whenever it seemed like he wasn't, and he technically wasn't ready for the start of training camp because he had, I believe it was like a calf strain and also the fall on the ball situation, which like, boy, does this guy love to put the ball tip right in his ribs before
Absolutely
he falls.
does. He wants to try to vaporize his rib cage with every single time he makes the catch.
But he returned to training camp after like a day or two. He was out there pretty early on. And then, of course, he gets chewed out by Ben Johnson. Then also the very next day, Ben Johnson had really high praise for him, saying you can see that playing speed. You can see it coming together for him. And all the beat reporters were saying like basically his second day back after getting chewed out, he got his head on straight and he was tearing it up. So now you're telling me he's practicing at his best. Well, one, he's practicing. But two, it looks really good. And he's a really exciting prospect. And this is a team that we're almost illogically, irrationally excited about because we're drafting all of them way ahead of where they finished last year under the assumption that Caleb was not the problem. It was all the coaching. It was all the offensive line that none of the grading stuff said was that bad, but we're not treating Luther Burden that way. We're taking him as the wide receiver, I think 57 right now. He seems to be the only one that isn't getting that Bears bump. And I think he should be the one getting it the most outside of maybe you can make this argument for Loveland too.
We've said first round draft capital is good. Pseudo first round draft capital and a high second rounder in Luther Burden. Same logic may apply. Just so much ground to cover this time of year. We tried to do as much as we can today. We're going to be assessing the first weekend of the preseason when we come back on Tuesday. Got everything covered at rotoworld.com, from blurbs to articles to a hub for our online draft guide. Free rankings have gone up. Free player profiles are up. So much stuff happening on rotoworld.com. So for Denny Carter, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next week.